Okay, here's the example that you sent. So you're kind of curious why the answer is from negative to positive infinity. And so really what we're looking for is that's kind of where we start, is that's our answer, and then we're looking for what is restricted, what can we not um, have as part of our domain. In this particular example, there are no restrictions, and the reason why is that you can plug in whatever you want for x. That's what domain is. It's just the x values that you plug in. And so you can plug in anything you want, but let's say that instead, let's say it was f of x equals 8 divided by x plus 2. Well, we'd have a problem there. And the problem would be that if you were to let x equal -2, you would end up dividing by 0, and so that would be a problem. So that would be restricted for this example. But if I plug in -2 here, that's fine. I would just, you would, -2 plus 2 is 0, 0 times 8 is 0, so that's fine. So basically there's no fraction, so there's nothing excluded in that sense. Then what you look for is, are there any square roots? And there's not. So there's nothing restricted as far as square roots go. And by the way, if you were to graph this line, if you were to look at this line, it looks something, it's pretty steep actually. It looks something like this. If you were to graph it, it's a pretty steep line because it has a slope of 8. If you were to distribute that 8, it would be 8x plus 16. So if you're looking at that as far as slope intercept form, so you're starting up here at 16, and then you got a pretty steep slope. Um, and so, anyways, the point that I'm making with the graph is that domain is your x values, right? Well, this thing goes down into the left forever towards negative infinity, and it goes up into the right forever to positive infinity. So graphically, you can kind of see there that all the x values are covered on the graph. Now, real quick about the square root, there isn't one, so you don't have to worry about it. But let's say that the problem instead was 8 times the square root of x plus 2. What you do in this particular example is you take what's inside here, and you can only evaluate square roots at positives. I mean, you can at negatives, but you get non-real numbers. And so that's something we dealt with a little bit in the first unit, but as far as graphing, we're not doing that here. So we need all those square root values, whatever your square root has to be greater than or equal to 0. And so then we solve this. So now we basically have that all my x values have to be greater than -2. Anything less than -2 would not work. So my domain on this particular example would be from -2 to infinity on that one. So, but I hope that helps you kind of understand your original question here about that there was no restrictions.